When you look across the West, you see high-risk fire sheds, sometimes adjacent to each other, sometimes separated by hundreds of miles. When you look at the San Bernardino National Forest, it's the only place where you see nothing but a series of overlapping high-risk fire sheds, which is pretty eerie and scary to me. And the reason that it maps that way is because of our dense population, our dense infrastructure, and what it would mean to actually have fire within our communities.
I look at the San Bernardino National Forest, very unique forest because we do have a lot of infrastructure. We have a lot of threatened and endangered species, communities that are within the forest boundaries. There's just so much values that are at risk in this area.
And when we have those structures and values at risk, it heightens that need to be able to reduce the fuel loading and increase the forest health around those communities so that when a wildfire comes, it changes that fire behavior.
On the San Bernardino National Forest, we do a lot of hazardous fuels reductions, vegetation management. And we go through and we start putting fire in different techniques.
What we're trying to eliminate is those ladder fuels, right? Those fuels that connect, the surface to the canopy of our tree. This is why we limb part of the trees, why we cut those brush components down, right? Because we don't want them up underneath the tree. Should a fire come through, it's going to heat those canopies up. We lop those down, and we scatter them across away from the trees. And then at a later time when weather permits, we come through with a broadcast burn.
The purpose is to help rejuvenate the land, help break down the soils, the minerals and everything. We're trying to represent what the natives did. We're trying to represent what nature did with lightning. So we wanted to create as healthy of a forest as possible.
In order to move the needle to have healthier, more resilient forests, we've got to do more across a larger scale. And when we talk about paces, frankly, we've got to pick up the speed. For what we're seeing every year, fires growing larger and larger, our efforts and our preventative work has to match that or, frankly, outpace that.
This particular project, the Angeles Oaks Fuels Reduction Project, it's a understory fuel break that the forest has been working on for several years as part of the community defense project for Angeles Oaks. Most of our firefighters, we live in and about these communities as well as work here, right? So we have a vested interest on this forest. This is our chance, our opportunity to be proactive, to try to see things ahead of these catastrophic fires.
Leading up to the line fire itself, the conditions here on the unit, on the San Bernardino National Forest, were critical to say the least. There is no more fire season, and it really is a fire year. And for us in Southern California, that really truly was what we were experiencing. It started just above one of our local communities of Highland, California, in the backyards of some homes and houses.
A fire where the line fire started was not what we wanted. It's one of our worst case scenarios for us. It's one of our nightmares. And it lived true.
We knew that the fire had a very high likelihood that it was going to get big and potentially impact the town of Running Springs or the community of Angeles Oaks. And if it kept getting bigger, beyond that, miles away, literally, the town of Big Bear. Around that same time, another fire started on the Angeles National Forest, the bridge fire. Immediately after that, another fire started on the Cleveland National Forest, the airport fire. At a certain point in time, anybody that was in the local area could look, and it literally looked like Armageddon. There were 3 mushroom clouds, the skies were dark, ash was falling miles around in the entire Southern California region, and it was from one of these 3 fires. And when you combine all 3 of them together, that's a very complex situation.
When I came on scene to the line fire, I knew that it was burning up towards our Angeles Oaks fuel break, and I was the only one up here from the area that had local knowledge, so I was able to go and tell the other resources that were from off forest where we should hold it and how we should go about getting it to come to this area by letting it burn in certain areas or by trying to stop it from burning hotter in other areas. And then I knew the ridges we needed to use to go all the way down to take it into the Santa Ana River because it's all part of our fuel break.
We only have a certain amount of resources. So now we all as management had to be very strategic on what resources we were going to send to all these fires because they all had a need. They all had a need.
It was coming up from the west and it was coming up some of these ridges with probably 100, 200 foot flame lengths. And when you're standing out here thinking, that's coming at you, what are you gonna do to get in the way of it to try to slow it down? And when it finally hit the ridge and got all the way onto the top, it started slopping over the next ridge to start backing down. Well, it ran into our fuel brakes and it ran out of ground fuel, slowed it down to almost nothing.
And that's the nice thing about shaded fuel brakes, is once they get to the top, because of the spacing between the treetops and because of the reduced vegetation and because of the prescribed burning that we've done, that fire can't survive in the treetop. It literally goes from a raging fire front, hits that fuel brake, just drops right down to the ground, tries to find something to continue to burn, to eat, because fire's like an animal, and ends up just kind of petering out.
That fuel brake system and that fuels work that's been done around that community has been very effective. Going back to the year 2020, we had a fire called the El Dorado fire, and Angeles Oaks was a key factor in protecting that community from the El Dorado fire. During the line fire, it was, I think, an even more critical role. The work that they were able to do in conjunction with some of the aircraft and leveraging the fuels work that was done in there, because of where the resources were at that specific time, we only had a certain amount of resources that were available and were in that area of Angeles Oaks.
If that work was not done, if we did not reduce that fuel loading, if we did not reduce those ladder fuels and whatnot, the fire would have ripped through Angeles Oaks, without a doubt.
We have really focused our program of work around how can we do more and not necessarily with less, do more with more, and leveraging our partners to grow our capacity so that as land managers, we're doing those key treatments on the landscape. We have to do that together. Some of the partners that we work with are really instrumental. National Forest Foundation. A lot of the things they've been doing to help us in protecting our communities is either establishing new fuel breaks or maintaining fuel breaks. Angeles Oaks, we have seen the actual tangible critical results of.
The Angeles Oaks project, I mean, it's been tested twice, and both fires have been repelled twice. And I think that kind of answers, the importance of doing this beforehand.
Fuel brakes aren't designed to stop fires. They're designed to moderate that fire behavior to give firefighters opportunities.
This wasn't just a one-time deal or a one-time project that was done just this year. This was years in the making.
What's really rewarding for me is seeing a wildfire come at it and seeing it work. Seeing the firefighters being able to go out there and get it taken care of. Protecting that community, protecting that forest.
We know that fire, it is not a matter of if, it is when it happens on the landscape. We have to be able to do work in order to help not only manage, protect our critical natural resources, but to keep communities, but most importantly, what we call our human capital, you, safe. I don't want to be responsible for wiping all that away without giving it my best shot, my best effort to make a difference. So I do my part. All the employees of the San Bernardino National Forest do our part. And we're hoping that as our community partners, and that means each and every one of you, because did I mention, living here, it's all our responsibility. And so in the words of Smokey, really it's only us that can do that critical preventative work here. And I'm gonna pull my piece of that.